course, an hour and a half late.
And now it's time to meet our starting lineups, and we're starting things off with Team Dominican Republic. Coming in at center, number 2, Ana Encarnacion. Outside hitter, number
Okay, buddy, you ready?
Middle blocker, number 10, Yannick Filippo. Opposite hitter, number 12, Yuri Arias. Outside hitter, number 14, Arlene De Los Santos. Middle blocker, number 15, Cabarnes Lima. And the libero, number 6, Alina Reyes. Team Dominican Republic is coached by Chicago Alexander. And now let's meet the starting lineups for Team Canada. Coming in at outside hitter, number 3, Sophia Zajac. Coming in at middle blocker, number 9, Maya Butuke. Coming in at outside hitter, number 11, Emerson Matthews. Coming in at opposite, number 12, Cindy Bell. Coming in at middle blocker, number 16, Abby Watusi.
Same starting lineup
Coming in at
for Canada.
24, Remy Katoja. And coming in libero, number 2, Ashley James. Team Canada is coached by Gina Schmidt.
You good? Welcome to the Athletics Rec and Recreation Center here on the campus of Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, for the 2025 U19 Girls NORCECA Pan American Cup. I am Kyle Compo, joined alongside by Tom McCabe. It is match day 2 here in Kingston. It is Canada taking on the Dominican Republic. Canada winning in straight sets last night against Costa Rica. It is the tournament debut for the Dominican Republic. And Tom, should be a good back and forth between these two sides. Dominican fresh, again, their tournament debut here. Canada coming off a straight sets victory against Costa Rica. Should be a good battle back and forth between these two.
Yeah, good start last night for the Canadian team. All 12 players on the roster actually getting into the game last night, so they all saw some action.
First swing of the opening set goes from Katojo out to Sophia Zajac, and Tom, Sophia Zajac, a great game to start off the tournament last night. It's a huge force on that left side. Great shot selection, able to find multiple different lanes, and going to be leaned on heavily again by Katojo on that left side. Encarnacion sets into the middle, and a response right back the other way by Victoria Filippo as they get the middle going on the first run. Maybe trying to get that established early here, Tom, and allow things to open up on the pins. But Canada quite strong defensively at the net in their block scheme, as well as defensively on the floor. Passed up and received there by Zajac. Forearm set by Katojo to the outside. Zajac stays on top of it. passed up by Ruiz. Sent to this left side, block gets recycled. Second ball once again on the swing from the left side, and the tool is there by De Los Santos. And the first lead in the opening set here for the Dominican Republic on the tool from De Los Santos on the left side pin.
2 good block touches though from Canada there in that last rally. Showing some good net presence early here.
Low serve passed up by Zabjak. Second ball taken by Gent. It'll go back to Zabjak, who rolls down the line. Set back to the right side for the Dominican, passed up by Katojo. Forearm set goes awry, goes over the net. Back to the right side, tipped over the top. Able to get there is Bell. Back to Zabjak, tips over. In system, out of system ball on the right side, and a great block there by Zabjak and Bukovkin. Able to get over and seal there, Tom, a couple of right side sets throughout the course of the first couple of rallies here for the Dominican, and Bukovkin able to seal the block, gets over. Great touch for the point for Canada.
Yeah, and interesting to see where the Dominican offense sort of seems to go. As you're saying, we haven't seen them play a match yet in this tournament, so we're seeing them for the first time as well as this crowd here. So interested to kind of see who their go-to players are throughout the course of this match here.
Tojo gets to Zabjak, great dig defensively by the Dominican. They get back through, and an impressive dig for Canada. Forearm set comes back over. Katojo just going to roll over. Sends to the back to the left side, and then in the right spot again, there is Gent. Zabjak swings away off the top of the block. Dominican called on the net. Any way you slice it there, a point to Canada. They retake the lead. It's 3-2. Another swing on that left side by Sophia Zabjak.
Yeah, and Ashlyn Gent, a couple of really nice digs in the back row, the libero there for Canada. Committed to play at Old Dominion University down in United States, NCAA Division I team.
Serve from Bell. Out of system ball comes back to the left side. Good cut that time by De Los Santos. Sees the block set up and just swings and angles away from it. Good turn on top of it, drops down to the floor. We're tied back at 3. Filippo back to serve here now for the Dominican. Via Topper. Good serve, passed up by Matthews, set to the left side to Zabjak, off the top of the block. Can't quite keep it alive. And Canada finds a way to side out quickly, and they retake the early lead here.
Canada so far looking pretty good on offense. I know the one thing that Coach Gina Schmidt was saying after the match last night against Costa Rica, a lot of jitters early on, a lot of unforced errors. They had 30 errors throughout the 3 sets, which I know that's something you see a service error go at the back there, but kind of clean up the, or sorry, service ace went in there. But I know one thing that Coach Schmidt's looking for is a bit better discipline, trying to limit the unforced errors on offense tonight.
I mentioned the slow start or the jittery start for Canada. They're down 6-1 to start the opening set before finding their way back and taking that opening set. It's a great dig by Bell out of the back row. Forearm set by Gent to roll over from Emerson Matthews. Back to the right side, block is set up, they keep it alive and poke back over. No, gonna go outside the antenna. Sort of a scramble effort there from Emerson Matthews to try to get third contact over, but goes out of play and a point to Dominican Republic. They trail 5-4. Serve upcoming once again here for the Dominican with Julie Arias, and a great swing by Bukovkin. An excellent attack there from Team Canada.
Yeah, great side out. And a really nice run for the middle there and into the right side pin. Well done to limit the service run there from the Dominican Republic.
And they run a lot of step arounds with that middle route, Tom. Especially obviously with Katojo in the front row. We'll see if that continues. Katojo set to the right side to Bell. Can't quite clear the tape. That set maybe a little bit inside. Bell had to adjust, couldn't quite get the full swing she was looking for.
Inside looked a little bit low as well. You were saying that didn't see a lot of the C ball, that back row right side attack last night against Costa Rica, but going to it early here in this match.
Great pass on serve receive and a great swing by Matthews. As Ashlyn Gent with a perfect pass, Tom, and serve receive, and it's set to the outside. Perfect location, tempo, and pace from Katojo, and Emerson Matthews right there to bury it. Biggest point of the match so far.
A little bit emphasis on that swing there. Another good side out from Canada.
Remy Katojo back to the service line. Passed up and received by Ruiz. Going to get tipped over. A great decision that time by Hernandez. Seeing the set a little bit in tight to the tape, but also recognizing where the defense was set up. It just tips it into the pot. A good side out back the other way this time for Costa Rica. Excuse me, for Dominican Republic. Deep float serve. That one looked like it was going long. Kept alive by Bell. Just going to get sent over on the free ball. Opportunity here in free ball transition for Dominican. He's going to get a scramble back over. Now a free ball transition opportunity for Canada. To the right side, Bell. It was dug up well, though, and kept alive there by Lima, and then a wipe. Just gets sent over. Emerson Matthews stays on top of it. Set to the C-ball this time for the Dominican. Good dig that time by Gent. And Matthews with a swing. Contact, no. You saw Lima coming across there, Tom, and maybe just protecting the sideline to ensure that it was going out of play. No contact there. Point goes to the Dominican. We're tied at 7.
Yeah, a couple of really great digs on both sides there, but so far Dominican Republic looking pretty scrappy on defense to start off this match.
Pass by Jet. They run the route out to the middle. A good response this time by Abby Wasutik. She gets her first action, and that takes us to the first of 2 technical timeouts in this opening set. And 15 points played, Tom, and we're separated by the thinnest of margins. An 8-7 advantage for Canada.
Yeah, and a bit of a better start for the Canadians as compared to last night, getting down early by 5 points right out of the gate. Been pretty back and forth here, but not as many kind of early game jitters we can see from Canada. Dominican Republic seemed to be settling in quite nicely here, like we were saying. Some great defense, some good job scrambling and attacking out of system here, but Canada's has been good being able to limit the service runs that Dominican Republic has been able to go on.
Yeah, a lot of the points for the Dominican that we've sort of seen so far have had to be a little bit more creative in terms of some of the shot selection and seeing maybe the Canadian block set up and trying to identify gaps in where the defense might be in terms of coverage. Whereas from the Canadian side of things, a lot of points that we've seen so far from Canada, just a lot of sheer power and pace in behind some of their attacks. They've had some creative runs themselves, getting a few step arounds. They've run the C-ball attack and then getting the left side pin involved as well. So good set distribution so far from Remy Katojo, getting everybody involved here early on. Yeah,
curious to see how the Canadian setter chooses to kind of use the back row attackers here. There was a lot of kind of double substitutions last night, keeping the setter in the back row so that you had 3 attackers spread across the front row. Wondering if we will see Schmidt go to the bench as much as they did last night, or if she's going to really start trying to dial in who her top 6, top 7 players are getting later into this tournament.
Excellent job on second ball that time by Ana Encarnacion. That was a tight ball into the tape. Maybe Canada thinking it was going to be maybe a little further off the tape or that it was going to come over altogether, but great heads-up play by Encarnacion. Just taking second ball, seeing again where the defense was set up, and a creative dump gets sent over. And Encarnacion with a serve. Now it's an overpass. Chance here for the Dominican. Set to the right side, tipped over. Passed up by Bell. Katojo to the left side, off the block. Coverage was there, but a great timing on the block. Just getting across and going to meet it there, Tom. It comes back, it's a lead 9-8 for Dominican Republic.
Yeah, and a nice job there to get the point off the block. They kind of squandered that first opportunity when the overpass came over.
Deep float serve, passed up by Gent. Brought back in by Bell, and then a joust at the net. Getting up there to push was Wasutik. Thought maybe there'd be a bit more of a recycle on that one, but defensive coverage a little dispersed in behind Wasutik, and it drops to the open floor. 10-8, the advantage now for the Dominican Republic. An aggressive float serve, another overpass, but passed up defensively this time. Swing by Bell off the block. Point's going to go to Canada. So it was swing, and it tips off the top of the block and out of play.
Canada got away with another one there. Overpass off of the first contact. Had some good side outs early on in the set, but just need to kind of dial in that first contact on serve receive a little bit.
Serve from Abby Wasutik. Bit of a missed touch there, but it kept alive there on the swing from the Dominican Republic. Tipped over, recycled. I think that was maybe strategic there from Zabjak to maybe just try to recycle off the block there and try again as you saw the block set up. But drops to the floor, and it's a 11-9 advantage here for the Dominican Republic. Deep float serve again. Passed up by Matthews, set to the outside. Zabjek rolls down the line. Set back to the left side, off the block, and what a response as Bukovkin and Bell. Excellent timing. Able to get across the plane of the net, go and meet that ball and drop it back to the floor. It's 11-10.
Bell goes back to serve. She was second in the game last night for all players. 10 points, 8 kills.
Serve upcoming by Sydney Bell. Passed up by Ruiz, set into the middle, and a great route this time by Philpo. And Carnacion again, finding her middle attacker. And a good conversion. Philpo just angling away from the block and cutting to 5. And the point goes back to DR. They're up 12-10. Topper from the service line, passed up by swing out of the middle, comes back on the overpass and swinging back away on the party ball. Sophia Zabjak not taking any chances on that one, Tom, just putting it back with emphasis.
Yeah, we mentioned Bell with 10 points last night, second among all players in points, and it was Zabjak who led the game against Costa Rica, 16 points. Very impressive on 14 kills. Team Canada fairly efficient in the offense last night. They were hitting around 47% as a team compared to about 22 for Costa Rica. And a nice ace there from Zabjak as well to give herself another point here early on in the first set.
Yeah, an excellent opening match of the tournament for Sophia Zabjak, and looking to continue that here today against the Dominican Republic, and trades an ace for an error that time as it goes the length of the floor and out the back. Gives the lead back to the Dominican Republic. It's 13-12. And that'll bring Julie Arias back to serve. Trying to extend this lead as they inch closer to the second technical timeout. We have Topper upcoming on the serve. Passed up by Gent. Katojo. Good find this time to Bukovkin. She comes over. Tom supports her setter a little bit. Comes a little bit close. But a great route run that time. And we're going to get a sub here. Looks like a serving sub for Bukovkin. It's going to be Fermaniak coming in to serve. We saw that in the opening set yesterday as well, as Brooke Fermaniak came in as the second left side in the second set yesterday, but in the opening set did come in as a serving sub for Bukovkin. And tied at 13. See if Canada tries to get some separation here midway through this opening set. It's a great serve by Fermaniak, and it gets the ace. And exactly what you're asking for out of your serving sub, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Great job to come in off the bench. Put it in an effective first touch for her in the match. First touch ends up in an ace.
Fermaniak back to serve again. 1 point advantage for Canada. Good float serve again. Pulls the setter off. They're going to be out of system here. See if they can stay on top with an aggressive swing. Good find on the attack. Harleni De Los Santos, a great opening set so far for her, Tom. Bukovkin going to come back in and then give way to Ashlyn Gent.
Yeah, plenty of action already for De Los Santos on the left side pin. Dominican Republic starting to struggle. We saw Canada have a few issues with serve receive early on. Now the Dominican Republic a little bit more out of system, but that means a lot of action so far for De Los Santos, and been quite good on the offensive side of the ball.
Katojo tipped over the top, gets sent back over. Back in system, good swing into the middle. They try to run it to Abby Wasutik. Again, back-to-back routes there, maybe a little bit jammed in, tied into the tape. Didn't quite get a full approach on that swing. Tom gets jammed up a bit. It's an attacking error. Point goes back to the Dominican.
Yeah, just not able to get on top of that ball. Ends up finding the tape.
Pass up again, though, by Gent. Back to the left side, and Matthews sides out for Canada. Emerson Matthews, couple of big swings out of the P2 rotation. Back tied at 15. And a great find that time on a side out by Emerson Matthews.
Yeah, Matthews is a good, powerful kills early on. She's one of 2 players on this Canadian roster headed to the University of Buffalo next year, along with Sydney Bell.
And Matthews with a swing, showing why the Bulls recruited her. Great attack there by Emerson Matthews. Back-to-back points for Matthews on that left side, Tom, and just using, again, that physicality, shot selection, and able to jump over top of where the block was set up and just finds the open floor. 16-15 in the second technical timeout, and similar to the first tech timeout, separated by just 1 point in favor of Canada.
Yeah, neither team really been able to pull away or put much separation throughout this first set. A lot of good side-out volleyball happening on both sides. I think both teams can sort of look to dial in their first contact a little bit. I've seen a few pretty good rallies, and Canada doing a fairly good job so far of trying to limit their attacking errors. We have seen a few, but nothing that has allowed the Dominican Republic to really kind of pull away in this first set here.
It was a very close opening set for Canada and Costa Rica last night until getting to about the 20-point margin for Canada, and then they were able to pull away on a run to finish off the set. 25-19 was the final of the opening set last night against Costa Rica. 28-26, a marathon, exciting back and forth affair in the second set. We're going to get a substitution here for the Dominican Republic. Estelle Santos going to come in for Harlene de los Santos. We'll see if this is maybe a serve-receive sub, Tom. As we've seen some great attacks from De Los Santos in this opening set. As Katojo goes right at Santos on the step around, and a good side out this time for the Dominican. As Philpo will come back on and give a bit of a breather to Orlena Ruiz. As Jacarlis Lima back to serve for the Dominican Republic. It's tied at 16 apiece. Katojo push to the far side, and powering through the block was Emerson Matthews. And a great opening set for her, Tom.
Yeah, looking really good on offense so far. Good swing there. Looked like she mistimed it a little bit, almost was making contact with the ball on her way down, but looked like she was just swinging, trying to find some hands. Was able to squeak that one through for another kill.
This one on a service error goes out the back. It's the serve receive from the Dominican Republic. Just having to dodge that one as it was floating its way through. Tied at 17. See which of these two can get some separation here, or if we're in for the minimum point separation of 2 to finish off the set. Encarnacion back to serve. It's a deep float and well out the back. That'll give the advantage back to Canada on the service error. So backhands now for the Dominican Republic. 3 attacking options in the front row. And that'll bring Abby Wasutik back to the line to serve for Canada. Good pass on receive. Encarnacion into the middle. Good dig though by Canada. Set back to the left side. Zabchek finds the baseline. Great find there, an appeal coming from the Dominican Republic. Timeout coming now for DR. They trail 19-17, but from our vantage point, Tom, it looked as though that one was comfortably in contact with the baseline there.
Yeah, it looked like it was just tucked in the back corner. Great shot, finding the deeper part of the court. It's going to lead Dominican Republic to take timeout here, getting late in this first set, trying to talk things over, limit this little short run Canada's going on.
3-point run for Canada. They are now back in front by a pair, leading 19-17. But an exciting matchup back and forth so far to open this matchup between Canada and the Dominican Republic. Again, the first match of the tournament for the Dominican Republic. They were idle last night as Canada took on Costa Rica and won in straight sets. And as we mentioned, if Canada can come away victorious here this evening, will clinch top spot in Pool B and book their ticket to the 6:30 start on Friday night's semifinals against the second seeding from Pool A. Encarnacion gets over with a forearm set. Free ball opportunity here now for Canada. Katojo into the middle. And a great swing from Maya Bukovkan. And in a lot of free ball opportunities that we've seen so far, Tom, they're able to get that middle going, and Bukovkan with a great swing that time.
Yeah, Katojo, good job getting her middles involved here. Something you kind of look to do early in a match. Hopefully free up your pin attackers later on.
Try to run the right side ball that time to Amber Hernandez. Swings into the net. Second timeout now taken here by the Dominican Republic and Coach Cachado. Trying to talk things over here and try to slow down this momentum building here for Canada. It's now up to a 4-point advantage, the biggest we've seen from either side in this opening set.
Yeah, it's like you were saying from last night, that first set stayed pretty even with Canada and Costa Rica until about this point of the first set. We're seeing something similar right now. Canada able to get out to a 4-point advantage. And I mean, it's rare that you come into a tournament and your second match of the entire tournament really has a lot of implication for the medal round. But with Canada in Pool B, only 3 teams with themselves, Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic. So a huge game already for really the second time this team has ever played together. On the Canadian side, they don't really get much action apart from the North American Championships. Both teams on the floor tonight will be heading to Croatia and Serbia next month in July for the U19 World Championship. So this is kind of the first step in a summer that they'll able to come together as a group.
Service error there for Canada. We get the sub back in as De Los Santos will come back into the front row as Estelle Santos will come to the bench. And coming out of the timeout, it was a service error. We saw that a few times in last night's match. Passed up by Matthews, gets sent back over, just gonna send it over on the free ball. Pass out to that left side, off over top of the block. Canada called on the net. Point goes to Dominican Republic, and they're back within 2.
Yeah, tough 2-point stretch coming out of that timeout for Canada. Really need to try to work to get a side out here. Get back up by 3 rather than it becoming a 1-point game.
Pass by Zabjak this time, right side ball, no block. Sydney Bell swings away. And great set that time by Katojo to flip behind her, Tom. And the block maybe anticipating that run out of the middle. Or again, with having so many attacking options there for Canada, tough to predict. But they had a great set there to Bell, and she buries it.
Yeah, Bell taking advantage, not having any block up there. It looked like the Dominican Republic was just caught guessing a little bit there on the set from Katojo.
Great out-of-system set there by the Dominican Republic, and they're gonna try to appeal for contact on the block here. Trying to go to that sharp cross shot, but can't find the sideline. And the point goes to Canada. As you saw, Ashlyn Gent kind of similar to what we saw earlier on, just protecting that sideline on defense and getting down to play it, but then obviously seeing where the ball was going and it was going to go out of play. Set into the middle this time. Great read on the block by Katojo to get over there and help support Bukovka, but a heads-up play by the Dominican Republic again. Just that light touch out of the middle. Tips over top of the block, and it's another point. They're back within 3.
I like the choice there from the Dominican Republic setter Encarnacion, going right back to Filpo twice in a row there. It was a good first attack. Canada had a good block touch, but sometimes nice to flip it right back to your middle for a second one.
Service error that time as Filpo was back to the line, goes up for the topper. Couldn't quite get it to spin, kind of a sploat off the hand there, Tom. And just goes straight at the back. It's now set point here for Zabjak. Passed up by Ruiz, Encarnacion to the right side, off the block. Stays in play, drops to the floor. Trying to get there was Katojo. A great swing out of the opposite that time for the Dominican Republic. We'll get a serving substitution. It's going to be a blocking substitution coming in. Mondesi going to try to come in on that right side and provide a bit of length on that right side pin to try to match up the left side attack of Canada. Serve passed up, they get it out to Matthews, and the block is there. Great timing there, Tom, as they get it out to Matthews. 24-22 is the advantage. We'll see if Coach Schmidt takes a timeout here. But a tactical substitution there to maybe again bring a bigger of a block presence there on that right side for the Dominican Republic, and it works on that time. Topper again trying to create more service pressure. It's an overpass in tight, but Katojo heads up play, stays on top of the ball, and just goes over on the 2 ball there, Tom. And that is it for the for the first set. They take it 25-22 and lead the match 1-0.
Good start for the Canadian side. Able to get themselves ahead, and a nice heads-up play there by Katojo, the setter. Looked like that pass may have been going over. Was able to get up, like you said, get on top of the ball, get herself involved in the offense late in that first set, and 1-0 lead for Canada.
Canadians take the opening set 25-22. Join us back for the second set. You're watching the U19 Girls NORCECA Pan American Cup here in Kingston, Ontario. Welcome back to the Athletics and Recreation Center, getting set for the second set here between Canada and the Dominican Republic. Canada taking an exciting opening set, 25-22, as Katojo will take the first serve here for Canada. And it's the same lineup for the Canadians in this second set, as was the starting lineup. One change for the Dominican Republic, as Crystal Mercedes is in. He's currently on the bench getting libbed out, but will be the only change, it looks like, from the starting lineup for the Dominican Republic. As Canada takes the opening point of the second set, Katojo back to serve again. Deep float serve, passed up in tight to Ruiz. Encarnacion gets there, but what a block. Matthews coming across to help out to Wasutik. Great timing there, Tom, and good anticipation by the Canadian block.
Yeah, Wasutik and Matthews all over that one there. Read it perfectly coming out of the hands of Encarnacion.
Katojo to serve again. It's a deep float serve, sometimes causing indecision like we just saw there, Tom. As De Los Santos maybe wasn't sure to go platform or hands, whether it was going in or out. So it's tough to navigate, and that indecision cost them on serve receive that time.
Yeah, good start here for the Canadians. Some good service pressure early on here, and a quick 3-0 lead.
Katojo with another deep float serve. Encarnacion comes back to the right side pin, tipped over the top. A good location again, that time by Julie Arias. It's a few times we've seen Dominican score by just finding gaps in the Canadian defense. 3-1 the score, the first point of the second set for the Dominican Republic. And a great top serve for the ace that time from Victoria Philpo. And they're back, it's 3-2.
Philpo, the team captain for the Dominican Republic, and pretty interesting story, Kyle. Actually, he's gone over to Japan to play her high school volleyball. It's kind of become a bit of a common pipeline. There's been a couple Dominican Republic players, most notably Alondra Tapia, who's now on the senior national team for the Dominican Republic, went over to the exact same high school in Osaki City, ended up winning a national championship there. First time in about 23 years the school had won the national championship. Now Philpo at the same school, as well as Julie Arias, who we haven't seen yet too much in this game. But both of them, or sorry, Mondesi, who we haven't seen too much in this game, but both of them playing for the same school over in Japan. Kind of an interesting route to take rather than come up to the States. But you know, sometimes you see that happen, or staying home in the Dominican Republic, probably getting some good exposure, some good experience playing at a pretty high level in Japan, and now coming back over to play for their home country this summer.
Yeah, finding ways to get maybe some continuity and some playing reps together. Some of the Canadian players have played some time together at the NEP program, but for the most part, as you mentioned earlier, Tom, a lot of this could be the first time, other than some practice time, but the first time for a lot of these girls playing together. As the Dominican has come back flying here now, it's tied at 4 after a fast start to the second set for Team Canada. As Arias back to serve. Aggressive spin serve that time by Arias, and a good swing out of the middle though by Wasutik. Canada finding a lot of success out of the middle, Tom. And Wasutik adding to that tally with another great swing there. Just chisels off the inside of that block setup.
Yeah, really great side out off a tough serve there from the Dominican Republic. Seen a couple players now. Philpo, one of them. Some tough topspin service, which we haven't seen too much of throughout this tournament. A lot more float serves.
Great dig defensively that time by Matthews, but it was in a little bit too tight for Sydney Bell to navigate safely. And that drops to the floor. And we're tied back at 5. And that'll bring Ashlyn Gent back onto the floor. And bring Philpo back to the service line. Excuse me, make that De Los Santos. Forearm set there by Matthews, over to Zabjek, good cut. Passed up by Ruiz though, Encarnacion to the left side. Over top of the block, can't get it to turn though, as Hernandez, he's seeing the size of the block there from Team Canada and having to try to do something to get away from that block as opposed to having to recycle that time. Just tried to swing over top of it, but couldn't quite get the turn. It goes at the back.
Yeah, it looked like Encarnacion was trying to stay somewhat in system there on that play, having a little bit of pace going to the outside, and just kind of made it tough for the left side to get on top of that ball.
Pass was there by De Los Santos. They try to recycle. It actually gets caught up in the block set up there by Katojo. And it's a side out there for the Dominican. It's tied at 6 here in the early stages of this second set. Back to serve here now is Crystal Mercedes. Into the net. It's a service error that time by Mercedes. She'll quickly come off and give way to Aurelina Ruiz. As Zabjek back to the line, and that'll bring Matthews back into the front row. Zabjek, serve, great pass and receive. Set to the C ball, swings away, but it's passed up well by Gent. Set into the middle, and a great cut again. Bukovkin having an excellent set and a half here so far, Tom. So again, that'll take us to the first of our 2 technical timeouts here in the second set. And great sort of chemistry that we're seeing here now between Katojo and Bukovkin.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of opportunity for Bukovkin early on in this match, and really like the way that Katojo gets her middles involved, especially in transition. You can keep that offense fast when the ball's coming back into your side of the net, not give the opposing team much time to get set up. You're going to find a lot of success if you can keep things quick. Katojo doing a really good job of that early in the second set, giving them a quick 2-point advantage in our first technical timeout.
8-6 the advantage here for Canada. Again, Canada winning in straight sets last night against Costa Rica. And again, the first match of the tournament for the Dominican Republic, but as we mentioned, only 3 teams in Pool B, Canada, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic, with the latter 2 facing off tomorrow. And again, obviously we'll see how the rest of this match unfolds, and we'll see if that one will be for second place in the pool, or if there will end up being some tiebreaker situations involved. But obviously we'll have to wait and see how this match unfolds, and then could set up a potential 3-way tie if the teams end up all beating each other, or again, if Canada comes away victorious, they'll set up tomorrow's matchup to see who will come away in second place in Pool B and advance to the semifinals. Passed up by Ruiz, forearm set to the outside by Encarnacion. Getting a touch on it there is Bell. A great swing, that time out of the left side by Amber Hernandez.
Yeah, Hernandez seen a lot of action as well on the left side, one of the smaller players on the court. A good job going right at Katojo there, the Canadian block, and able to find a point.
Passed up by Gent, Katojo able to get there. It was a good forearm set, great adjustment on the set that time by Katojo. And Matthews in a perfect location to be able to swing away with pace. The forearm set that time by Katojo, off the net, but in a position for Matthews to still convert.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest skills that, you know, at the higher level you look for from your setters. It's just kind of expected that you're going to be able to deliver a good out-of-system set, just like we saw from Katojo. She got pulled way off the net, going away from the court, but able to give a really nice forearm set out-of-system, and another one right here.
Recycles off the aggressive swing that time by Matthews and goes for a tip this time, but it's defended by the Dominican Republic. Gets it back to the left side. Can they recycle? No. Good conversion by Julie Arias. Canada in position there defensively, but just took a bit of a roll and unable to keep it alive. Back within 1 are the Dominican Republic, with Amber Hernandez back to serve. Trailing 9-8 in this second set. Passed up by Zabjak to the outside. Matthews off the top of the block, but it's defended by the Dominican Republic. Over to that left side. Passed up again by Gent. Matthews with the tip this time. And a good effort by the Dominican to get over there to try to get contact, but just couldn't quite get there in time.
Nice little change of pace there on the outside from Canada as we get a quick towel out on the Dominican Republic side of the net.
2-point edge restored for Canada. Remy Katojo back to serve, and that'll bring Sydney Bell back into the front row. 3 attacking options, and Zabjak, if needed, out of the pipe as the service error that time by Katojo goes wide of the court.
Yeah, I haven't seen Katojo go too much to the back row. Saw a few back row right side the C ball in the first set, but really haven't seen that pipe attack with the back row attacker coming out of the middle.
Gent sets back to Matthews, who just tries to wipe it across, but a bit of a mistouch, maybe not fully seeing where she was in terms of the length or width along the net. Again, tries to go with a wipe, but mistouch there, and it's an attacking error. We're tied at 10. Philpo back to serve, and Canada's going to be called out of rotation.
They're calling that, I believe, on Bell, who's the front row. She's the right side in the front row. She definitely took off a bit early. Coach Schmidt asking for some sort of explanation, because I know in the Volleyball Nations League for the men and the women, they've changed the rule where it used to be that you couldn't move. If you were on serve receive, you couldn't move until the ball had been contacted on the serve, but there's a new rule that's been put into place where as soon as that ball is tossed, any player is allowed to move kind of where they have to go, and that looked to be what Bell was doing there, but not sure if that rule's made its way down to the U19 international level, if it's just that the senior level, but apparently not, as they were called for being out of rotation.
And then back-to-back attacking errors, no contact on the Canadian block. It's going to call, or excuse me, on the Dominican block. It's going to force Coach Gina Schmidt to take a timeout. 5 straight points, Tom, for the Dominican Republic after a 10-8 advantage for Canada. Again, they call on the out-of-rotation call, back-to-back attacking errors, so things sort of compounding a little bit. So a good timeout to take here for Canada. Settle things down, talk things over, get back into a good headspace, and get back on the floor and close this gap.
Yeah, a bit of a tough stretch Out of rotation calls are always going to throw you off a little bit.
But credit to the Dominican Republic in terms of fighting back here and again turning a 2-point deficit into a 3-point lead and just kind of riding the wave of allowing some of the missteps from Canada to work in the Dominicans' favor on the scoreboard and then force again Team Canada into calling that timeout. We'll see if they can try to keep that rolling here. Again, we've seen over the last, well, the first Canadian match a few times on both sides where coming out of a timeout has led to a service error. So we'll see. We saw that earlier in the first set as well. So we'll see if that could have been part of the tactics here for Schmidt to get a strong server off the line. Takes a bit of pace off this time. Get back in, and Bell stays on top, able to swing away. Encarnacion to the left side, tipped over, but read up defensively by Canada. Just going to get sent over there by Katojo. To the right side, tipped over again, able to get there as Gent, scramble to get there, no. Can't convert. And another point goes to the Dominican Republic on a lengthy rally back and forth. But the break goes in favor of DR.
And good initial, good service pressure on the first serve of that timeout from Philpo. Kind of a roll shot, spin serve, taking a little bit off it.
Great side out though by Canada, able to get Sydney Bell, the left side attacker on that left side pin, Tom. Kind of talked about that off air a little bit, how sort of unconventional that can be for a block scheme and a defense to try to read. Sometimes it only ends up being 1 point of a rotation or a rally, but worked out well. Canada's favor that time, and Bell just swings away, brings it back to within 3. Trying to get that pace ball across from Encarnacion, but maybe not expecting it. Good recycle there by Bell. Joust coming at the net. Canada will reset. Katojo forearm set to the left side. Zabjak swings away as Sophia Zabjak tools off the block. Could be a nice confidence boost for the Canadians as they come away with a positive point after a lengthy rally with a couple of scramble opportunities on both sides, and that'll force the Dominican Republic into taking a timeout. 14-12 for the DR.
Yeah, good response from the Canadians after that quick run from the Dominican Republic, bringing it back to within 2, and a really nice out-of-system swing from Zabchak there on the previous play. Staying aggressive, going off the block hard. Dominican Republic, a real quick talk here. They're already ready to come back out onto the floor. I think just want to try to slow the momentum of the Canadians a little bit.
Some of the matchups earlier this afternoon, Venezuela winning a 5-set marathon against Puerto Rico, and the USA winning in straight sets against Mexico in Pool A action. It is the second loss of the tournament for Puerto Rico. Venezuela split their first 2 matchups, losing in straight sets last night to the USA, and the USA now 2-0, and Mexico 1-1 as well, losing to USA, as I mentioned earlier today, but winning against Puerto Rico yesterday. So 1-1 for Mexico and Venezuela, 0-2 for Puerto Rico, 2-0 for USA, and Canada 1-0 here in pool play with Costa Rica 0-1, and the Dominican Republic 0-0. Looking to fight back here and even this match up and take the second set, but it's a service error that time by Julie Arias.
It was an impressive game from the USA over Mexico, the one just before this match started, from a pretty young USA roster. Obviously it's a U19 tournament, so you're seeing a lot of 17, 18-year-olds, but the average age of that USA team, just 15 and 6 months, so definitely a bit younger than the other rosters that we've seen here, but a convincing win for their second of the tournament.
Fermaniuk back in as a serving sub here for Canada. Pulls Encarnacion off, but a great swing though by Arias. Katojo there to get contact, but just sort of reactive on that one. Couldn't do much on that aggressive swing there by Arias, and now they're indicating for the second technical timeout here. 16-13 is the advantage for the Dominican Republic. And we saw Canada, Tom, in the lead of the first tech timeout. Script flipped a little bit here. 3-point advantage for the Dominican Republic, up 16-13 at the second technical timeout. As again, they look to even the match at a set apiece.
Yeah, going to be interesting again still haven't seen Dominican Republic for more than a match yet. Got to see Canada yesterday, and I'm really curious to see who the Dominican Republic start turning to in the later points of these sets. Start to see who they're going to be relying on throughout this tournament, and as they head overseas next month for the World Championship. Dominican Republic had to have some success at this tournament though before. They had a silver medal. That was their best finish back in 2015, and more recently back in 2022 they came away with the bronze medal. Canada still seeking its first medal at this tournament. Good chance to do it here on home soil. But Dominican Republic had some success. Their senior women's team really been on the rise lately in the last few years as well.
Service error from the serving sub, Estelle Santos. Trying to steal another one from the line. Gives the point, though, to Canada on the service error. And Santos going to stay in and play out of the back row here for the Dominican Republic as they lead by 2. And that brings Sydney Bell back to the service line. Deep float serve by Bell. Passed up by Santos. Dumped over there by Encarnacion. Scrambled by Canada, but they do a nice job to stay with it. Passed up Encarnacion to the right side. An attacking error this time by Mercedes. And back-to-back points now for Canada, Tom. They're within 1. And have Bell, again, back to serve. They had the middle tucked in behind the setter on that route, Tom. Didn't run the actual step around, but just the location of where Mercedes was attacking from was on that right side pin. Now angles a little bit more towards the middle. Great swing this time on the response, though, by Hernandez. She's able to get up and fly on that swing and converts for another point.
That's going to bring Philpo back to the front row for the Dominican Republic, who's been quite a presence, a team captain on the defensive side of the ball on the block as well as offensively.
Step around that time by Team Canada as Maya Bukovkin able to get out. Doesn't swing away though, but effectively uses the sort of tip and kind of a throw tip into the block. And again, a great execution. Another point and a run out of the middle. Zabchek with the serve. Encarnacion to the right side ball. Out of the C, able to scramble to get there. It did look like it was down. Good effort to get there by Ashlyn Jens, but point goes back to the Dominican Republic. They lead 18-16 with Ana Encarnacion back to serve. Good cut coming across. Does it paint the sideline? It does. It's a good swing by Canada. They actually say it goes off the block as well, Tom. So point does go to Canada. They're back within 1. And Bukovkin back to serve.
Canada split in their 2 front row attackers. Bukovkin, the middle, going and attacking behind the setter out of the right side, trying to spread out that block a little bit.
Swing to the right side with a block. Katojo coming across to meet up with Abby Wasutik. And a huge block ties this back at 18.
Really good job closing to the left side pin there from the Canadians.
Bukovkin back to serve. Now we're tied at 18. Good pass on receive though, and the tip into the middle. Able to scramble to get there. Back to the left side. Matthew swings away. Contact on the block. No. Point's going to go to the Dominican Republic. To see the attack location on that one, Tom, from the Dominican Republic on that left side. Maybe recognizing that it was a middle serving and maybe having to play a little bit of defense, and they come there on sort of the tip and force that maybe a little bit of inexperience on some of the reps defensively from the middle. Point does go to the Dominican Republic, and another dump that time by Remy Katojo. He's had a lot of success out of that, and at key opportune times as well. Finished off the last set by going over on a 2-ball and ties this one back at 19, doing the same, and now she's back to serve. And it's into the net. One-point advantage back for the Dominican Republic as Philpo back to serve here now, Tom. We'll see if she can get some separation with her service pressure here. One of the top spin servers here for the DR, and well, there is a bit of a missed toss there. Looked like the mechanics off a little bit on the footwork, Tom, or maybe just trying to catch the Canadian serve receive a little bit deep and trying to go for a lighter shot.
Yeah, it just looked like she tossed it a little low and a little too far in front. You could sort of see the body language as soon as she tossed that ball in the air. She was trying to play catch up to it, wasn't able to roll it on over the net.
Touch off the top of the block and just a miscommunication defensively there for Canada as to who was going to cover that seam. Point goes back to DR, and now Julie Arias back to serve, and that'll bring Rainey Mondesi onto the floor. And we saw this substitution happening in the late stages of the first set, Tom. Mondesi giving a bit more of a block presence than Encarnacion. And we'll see if they make the switch. Service error there from Arias. And right away, Encarnacion going to come back onto the floor. So you take your primary setter off maybe to try to get a point or steal a point from the net. But Mondesi will come back to the bench, and Encarnacion back onto the floor. We're tied at 21 late in this second set. Bukovcat, deep float serve. Passed up there by Ruiz, set to the outside, tipped over. Canada able to keep it alive, sent over on the free ball. The DR will try again. Set to the C ball, has to stay down. Matthews, forearm set comes wide to the outside. And not much Zabjek could do on that one. Point goes to the DR, they're up 22-21.
Yeah, tough out of system set there from the Canadians. They really need to try to do a little bit of better job. Dominican Republic didn't have a great offensive look. Ended up having to throw a free ball over, and Canada not able to convert.
Great fix by Katojo and anticipation by Bukovcan. Massive time for a point like that for Canada. As Katojo able to stay with it, Tom. Protects it away from the tape, keeps it on the Canadian side, and Bukovcan there just a swing away. Excellent job by Canada on that sequence.
Yeah, really nice play from Katojo, the back row setter there, doing what she can to keep that ball on their side and allow her team to have a swing.
And a response back the other way from Encarnacion. Canada scrambles to get there. Katojo with a forearm sets in tight and stays on top. Great job by Zabjek. Not worrying about the spacing off the net, Tom, or whether it was in too tight. Dominican Republic going to call a timeout with a 1-point lead here for Canada. But Sofia Zabjek just goes up and swings. And again, not worrying about contact on the net or potentially where the block was set up. Just staying aggressive and was rewarded for it in the end.
Yeah, I was surprised she was able to get a full swing on that ball. Watching it come off the hands there, the bump set from Katojo was kind of spinning in the air and looked like it was almost going to be too tight to be able to get a full attack, but a really nice job from Zabjek there. Staying aggressive, putting her team up 1 now late in this second set, forcing Dominican Republic to take a timeout, talk things over. Going to be important here for Canada to come out, try to put in a good first serve out of this timeout.
Second of 2 timeouts taken by the Dominican Republic, so they're going to have to sort things out the rest of the way on the floor. Of course, unless Canada calls a timeout. But 23-22, Sydney Bell back to serve. Try to push this one to set point. Deep float serve, it's plays in though. It's going to be an ace for Bell. Julia Arias can't believe it. But it did look as though, Tom, it caught the end line.
Yeah,
and it's now set point.
Advantage of those good float serves. They can just kind of duck right at the last second, as we saw there, and it snagged the line.
Passed up on receive. Set to the outside. Hernandez swings down the line. Out of system ball comes in tight to the tape, and it's Zabjek, but this time runs out of real estate in the swing through, catches the net.
Yeah, kind of the other outcome of the point we saw a few points ago. Another sort of tight set. Looked like it was a little too tight, but she still elected to try to get the full swing. Good to see one of your top players staying aggressive, but Canada going to need to fight for a side out here if they want to try to put away this second set.
They bring in Varelis Rivera, and it's going to be a service error to end the set. A tough break there for the Dominican Republic in a very hard-fought set where they had opportunities, Tom, to pull away. But a tough break. Never a fun way, obviously, to end any sort of set if you're on the losing end of it, but tough break when you get into a spot where the serve just goes a little bit long or short or wide or whatever it might be the case. But a tough finish to that set. We'll see if the Dominican Republic can get some of that momentum back and maybe push this one to a fourth. But a great job by Canada to stay the course. They found themselves down a couple of times there late in that set. Had some great resolve and some great plays on their side of the net to push back. They come away with a 25-23 set victory.
Yeah, the Dominican Republic really need to put that set behind you quickly. They were up. They had a chance to really separate themselves, but Canada, great job fighting back, able to put themselves up 2-0, and they stayed aggressive throughout the later portion of that second set. We saw some good out-of-system swings. We saw some good defensive pressure and, just staying in rallies, extending them. Now they're up 2-0 and have a bit of a cushion here in their second match of the tournament.
Canada takes the second set 25-23. They lead the match 2-0. Join us back for the third. You're watching the U19 Girls NORCECA Pan American Cup here in Kingston, Ontario. Welcome back to the Athletics and Recreation Center, getting set for third set action here between Canada and the Dominican Republic. Canada leading 2-0, but are +5 on the evening. 25-22 in the opening set, 25-23 in the second. So a ultra competitive matchup between these two sides here in Pool B action. And the first point of the third set goes the way of the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, really close second set. Just looking at the stat lines, Kyle. 12 kills for Canada, 11 for the Dominican Republic. Canada with 6 attacking errors, Dominican with 5, so pretty similar to the attack. One spot you can kind of see where Canada was able to separate a little bit was the service errors from the Dominican Republic, as we see another one there. Tough having a service error to end the second set. I think that's going to be one spot where Dominican Republic side is going to look to sort of reel things in a little bit on their first contact, but Canada happy to take advantage.
Service there from Wasutik, set into the middle. Great dig though, but Canada called on the net. Tough break there for Remy Katojo. She's in a great spot. It gets a good clean dig on that ball, but Canada called on the net. 2-1 the advantage now for the Dominican Republic. Amber Hernandez back to serve. Float serve passed up there by Zabjak to the right side, tipped over by Bell. And great identification there by Sydney Bell There's a swing block coming all the way to the outside, but the defense quite a bit back there as Bell recognizes that and just rolls it, tips it over and finds the attack line.
Yeah, good off-speed shot there from Bell on the right side. Set looked like it was a little bit tight to the net, but nonetheless a good job to still take advantage and come away with the kill.
Passed up there from Bell, set to the right side, and the swing goes wide of the net. And the point goes to Canada. They're up 3-2.
Seen that a few times from the Dominican Republic. That time it was going to the right side, but I've seen it a few times when Encarnacion's trying to go out to the pins. She's really trying to keep that offense fast, trying to keep a lot of pace on that set. And as we saw in that last point there, it's just too difficult for the right side to be able to get on top of that ball. Ends up putting it long wide of the court.
Swing there from Sofia Zabjak. Gets touched on the top of the block, but drops to the open floor. Canada's up 4-2. And looking to get some early set separation here as Bell continuing her service run. Set back to the left side, over top of the block. Great dig that time by Ashlyn Gent. C-ball attack. Pass comes in tight, and Katojo gets over and called on the net for the Dominican Republic. Another point for Canada. They're up 5-2.
Yeah, good aggressive swing from Bell coming out of the back row on the right side there. And a good touch on defense for the Dominican Republic, but just a little bit too tight on that dig. Katojo able to get a party ball swing.
Serve short into the net this time by Bell. Gives one back to the Dominican Republic. And that'll bring Philpo back onto the floor.
Dominican Republic kind of struggled here on serve receive early. Haven't really been able to get their middles involved in system very much.
Serve from Mercedes. Passed up by Zabjak. Forearm set by Katojo. Gets it over to Zabjak. Dig by Mercedes. Encarnacion to the right side and swings through the block as Julie Arias. And the pace have had a little bit of a gap off the block there between that separation between the block and the net.
Yeah, Bukokan just not able to fully get over and close that block.
5-4 the lead now for Canada. Another strong serve. It's flushed back by Arias. Canada able to get it over. Set back to Arias. Tips over this time. Scrambling is Katojo. Staying on it. Zabjak catches the tape. 4 contacts called on Canada. Would have been a big side out there for Canada. But Zabjak swings away but catches the tape on the way through.
Yeah, she sort of found herself coming a little bit inside there on that out of system set. She sort of put her hand up immediately after realizing that she maybe had just sort of taken a little bit off of it and just try to extend that rally.
And another big block on the right side. Getting across to close is Philpo with Arias. And a 4-point run, Tom, for the Dominican Republic. They take the lead up 6-5.
Yeah, good response to the Dominican Republic.
Mercedes with a serve into the net. And there's a break for Canada. As the Dominican Republic had built up some momentum.
Yeah, good service run there. Some good pressure from Mercedes. The other middle for the Dominican Republic. Really puts everything she's got into that float serve.
Zabjak. Pass comes in tight. Good adjustment there. Point's going to go to Canada. Double touch called on Philpo.
Yeah, not sure if that initial contact from Philpo actually touched the Canadian block or not. Apparently not, according to first referee.
Pass comes up on receive. Set to the right side ball. Good timing on the block that time by Canada. Set back to the right side. Sent over on the free. Scrambling to get there is Katojo. Forearm set by Bell. Just tipped down into the corner. Good location by Canada on the free ball. Passed up by Bell. Katojo. Great dump again this time by Katojo. Swings over. Does she catch the net? No. Point's going to go to Canada. You see an appeal coming from Philpo, and that's going to take us to the first technical timeout. Canada leading 8-6. A great sequence by Remy Katojo on that last rally for Canada.
Yeah, Katojo able to get herself involved. Seen her not afraid to utilize that setter dump a few times, about 3 or 4 setter dumps she's gone to kind of in system throughout this match, but that time recognizing the opportunity to get up and swing away, and Dominican Republic thought maybe came in contact with the net, but nonetheless 2-point advantage for the Canadians in the first time out of this third set.
So tomorrow's action will wrap up pool play, as the 2:30 time slot will be Mexico against Venezuela, and that one likely, Tom, to decide who will finish second in the pool. Of course, we'll see what happens with USA versus Puerto Rico. But the USA taking on Puerto Rico. Again, the US up 2-0 so far through the first 2 matches. And they will play in the 4:30 time slot. And then Costa Rica taking on the Dominican Republic at 6:30. Of course, still a lot left to be played here this evening. That too could also be for a spot in the championship semifinals. If Canada is able to pull away victorious here tonight, they lead 2-0, but again, by a 5-point margin between those 2-set victories. Overpass there on second ball, just flushed back by Katojo. And it's now 9-6.
Katojo's leading and kills the setter in this third set. Another smart play at the net there, just going up, flushing it down with 2 hands off of the air on that out of system set from the Dominican Republic.
Katojo playing for the Shock Volleyball Club for her club volleyball. And another point there for Canada. They lead 10-6 and force the Dominican Republic into taking an early set timeout with a 4-point gap.
Yeah, we've seen some good connections from Katojo as well as Bukok and the middle. Both of them heading to North Carolina next year. They're going to play for High Point University, another pair of teammates in this Canadian squad headed to the same post-secondary school to continue their careers. So I'm sure they're happy to get to spend the time together this summer.
10-6 coming out of the timeout in favor of Canada. Again, looking to close out this second match of their tournament. They are 5-0 so far in terms of sets won and lost, with a 3-0 sweep against Costa Rica yesterday. Pass up there by Gent, set to the left side. Matthews with a great swing off the block. And out of play, and the separation continues here. It's now up to 5, 11-6.
Been really impressed with both at the outside so far, Matthews and Zabchek for Canada, just how aggressive and confident they are to swing. Really good kind of in-system set there from Katojo. And
another service ace, this time for Canada, as Sofia Zabchek. And you mentioned earlier, Tom, just about the difficulty sometimes of navigating a float serve, and that one dips at the end and finds that baseline. 12-6 in this third set. Zabchek again. Set to the right side. Good side out, though, from the Dominican Republic. Much needed there on the right side attack by Julia Arias.
Yeah, really important for the Dominican Republic just to stay focused, take things 1 point at a time here. When you start getting down, 12-6, 12-7, you're down 6-5 points. You kind of want to start to try to get everything back in one swing or one serve, but tough service error there, but important for them to try to keep plugging away. We saw the Dominican Republic kind of squander a lead in the second set. Canada now with a similar advantage in the third, but it can be important for both teams just to keep things going 1 point at a time.
Bukovkin back to serve for Canada. Good pass on receive. They set into the middle, but don't swing away. It's a tip over the top. Good swing again there by Zabchek out of the back row. Block is there, no touch on the block. It's going to go well. Nope, they're going to say there was contact on the swing. Not sure who maybe made the call here.
Looked like it was the line judge down in front of us on the right-hand side here, Kyle, but didn't really seem like saw any kind of touch. We'll see the result of this service.
Pass up comes in tight by Matthews and just gets sent over there by Katojo. Free ball opportunity now for Canada. Good pass up by Gent to the left side. Matthews straight down the line. And what a swing that time by Emerson Matthews. Sees the gap in the block. Dominican arguing that maybe it had gone out of play. See the up official indicating that there was contact on the block anyway. But a great swing by Matthews after a play that Canada felt didn't go their way on the previous point. Katojo, deep float serve, and this time the same reaction from the Dominican as we just saw from Canada. A point that they felt didn't go their way, and then they get one back the other way. 14-9, the advantage here for Canada in this third set. Most sort of separation that we've seen at any juncture throughout the course of this match so far, Tom. As Bukovkin swings and gets caught on the tape. See if Canada can put that away and find a way to side out here and get back with some momentum.
Yeah, it just looked like that set from Katojo just a little bit low in the middle there.
Topper upcoming, and it's going to go wide of the court. Wisely seeing that one go out as Zabjak. And it's a service error, 15-10. As Canada continues. This time it's Matthews on the serve. Set to the outside, good dig out of the back row by Matthews. To the left side, Zabjak off the block. A little scramble to get there. And tipped over, good effort to get the cross by Katojo, and then takes a tough bounce off the tape and rolls out a play. Otherwise, Gent was in a position to keep that alive.
Yeah, a few good touches on defense there for Canada.
Rainey Mondesi going to come back onto the floor here for the Dominican Republic. As she will take out Julia Reyes. And that'll allow the Dominican Republic to stay in system with a setter on the floor, but that one goes the length of the floor as Valerie Vargas has taken over setting responsibilities. Takes us to the second technical timeout. Canada leading 16-11. And a little bit of breathing room to work with here, Tom, as they look to close out the match.
Yeah, going to be important for them just to stay aggressive, especially on the service line. Try to keep the Dominican Republic able from getting set up and being in system. They've done a pretty good job of it throughout this match so far, but just needed to keep putting their foot on the gas pedal here and try to close out Dominican Republic.
16-11 is the advantage here. The second technical timeout of this third set. Canada leading 2-0 in their second of 2 pool play matchups. And looking to finish atop the pool, as we mentioned. If they do so, will play on Friday in the 6:30 time slot against the second seed out of Pool A, which will be determined throughout the course of pool play games tomorrow. And we should know that result after the 4:30 matchup. Once the pools have finished, we'll get another serving substitution. Brooke Fermeniuk coming back into the game. The only substitution we've seen from Canada so far in this match, Tom, has been Brooke Fermeniuk. You mentioned all 12 players on Canada's roster getting some time yesterday. But Fermeniuk, the only substitution from Coach Schmidt so far in this matchup. We'll see if that changes, if the lead continues to grow here for Canada. And they are now up by 6 at 17-11.
Good job there from the serving substitute for Canada. Put in a tough float serve there, leading to the center line fall, and the pass is a little too tight for the setter to work with there.
Another serve from Fermeniuk, catches the tape, and it's another ace for Brooke Fermeniuk. 18-11, timeout taken here by the Dominican Republic.
Fermeniuk doing a good job, doing some good job security as the serving specialist here for Canada, coming in. 2 great serves off the bench. Helps Canada really widen the gap a little bit here and leading to the timeout from the Dominican Republic. Like we were saying earlier in the last technical, it's going to be important for Canada to stay aggressive, and Fermeniuk's done that really nicely here late in this third set.
I believe the widest margin throughout the course of the entire match. You saw maybe around 5 or 6 at different junctures, but I think 7 sort of being the most lopsided or the most separation that we've seen either side have. 18-11 coming out of the timeout here from the Dominican Republic as they try to turn the script a little bit here and chip away at this 7-point deficit.
Canada doing a really good job. We mentioned early in the broadcast that Coach Schmidt had said the one area of the game she would like to see her team clean up was the unforced errors. There were 6 attacking errors last set for Canada, only 2 so far throughout this third set, so they've really done a good job of taking their coach's advice. We see
Good
a great
timing
block
on the block as Bell comes across with Bukovkan. Just perfect in sync timing there, Tom. So they're able to get up, get across the tape, and send it back where it came from.
Yeah, great read and great block touch. Canada now 8-point advantage, definitely the biggest we've seen in this entire match.
Forearm set to the left side. Good cross-court swing that time, though, as Mondesi able to angle around the block, goes off the arms and into the stands. 19-12, and we'll get a substitution as Rivera is going to come in for De Los Santos. Amber Hernandez back to serve.
Canada still with all 3 options up front.
Good adjustment there. They thought maybe they'd call on the lifts there in Katojo. Nonetheless, the point does go to Dominican Republic. Sydney Bell just kind of swinging away on that one as it goes well wide of the antenna and out of play. 6-point gap now for Canada. Passed up by Matthews, gets over as Katojo. Forearm set to Zabjak. Good dig defensively though by Ruiz. They run the pipe, but it's more of a tip out of the back row as Bukovkan reads that one perfectly, and right there to deflect that one back to the Dominican side of the net.
Yeah, all 3 blockers up front for Canada doing a good job staying home on that pipe attack from the Dominican Republic. Not fooled at all by the overload option in the middle there, and they're able to come away with a good blocking point.
Set back to the left side and a huge block. Remy Katojo, 21-13.
Katojo having a great third set here. We mentioned earlier that she's been able to get herself involved on offense, staying aggressive up at the net. Now, tremendous job closing out that block on the left side, putting Canada within 4 points of putting away this match.
Lead up to 8 for Canada. Forearm set to the right side to Mondesi off the top of the block. Katojo able to take the first ball. Back to the left side off the top on the swing there by Zabjak. Point's going to go to Canada. 22-13, 3 points to push to close out the match. We'll see if the Dominican Republic looking towards their bench, maybe to see if they have any timeouts remaining, or maybe trying to communicate some serve location tendencies, as it looks like that is the case as Bell goes back to serve, and it's into the tape. So again, you saw Rivera coming all the way over to the sideline, try to maybe take away one of the lanes for the serve. As it goes off the arms there of Murray. Kept it at the block, and it goes off Bukovkan and out of play. 22-15 with Crystal Mercedes back to serve.
Now would be a good time for the Dominican Republic to try to go on a service run. Mercedes has been one of the more effective servers tonight.
The service error that time by Mercedes goes the length of the floor. Puts Canada 2 points away from closing out the match.
We have a double-edged sword, the aggressiveness that Mercedes has on that serve. A lot of pace on that float, which can make it tough to receive, but we've seen her put it out the back a few times.
Yeah, the system ball gets set back to the left side pin. Katojo this time. Tom, you talked about her creativity and her ability to make plays when it looked as though it wasn't going to be possible. And just a back dump that time by Katojo, seeing the block shift inside and knowing that she had the opportunity to make that play. Just a one-handed flick inside tight to the tape and flicks it behind her. And what a time to do so. It's match point. And a block again, kept alive, and they'll send it over. As Katojo on the net, they will call it. A little bit of a late call there, but Katojo does get up, and you can see a bit of a clip pulling her arms back away from that block.
Yeah, late call, but definitely the right call there. Canada's clipping the top of the tape. So we'll have quite a few match points to work with here.
Estel Santos back to serve here for the Dominican Republic. Off the arms there of Gent. Brought back in, and it's going to be extended for at least one more point. Make that Rainey Mondesi at the service line. 24-17. As Mondesi will try to continue the run here. Passed up by Zabjek. Katojo to the right side ball. Great dig defensively to keep it alive again. Going to stay on top of the pipe, but it's an attacking error. And a frustrating end there for Amber Hernandez, who had a great game, Tom. Keeps that first contact up and swings away out of the back row. But a great third set by Team Canada. They take it 25-17 and win the match 3-0, 25-22, 25-23, 25-17. And again, a great effort there from Canada in the third set to get that additional separation, a little bit of breathing room. Started to play very, very well. Not that they hadn't in the first two sets, but really demonstrating their skill set and strength in that third set.
Yeah, it looks like they kind of just hit their groove. We didn't see as many substitutions tonight from the Canadian side as we saw in their first match against Costa Rica. So kind of seems like that core six was able to start to get comfortable late in this match, start finding their groove, which is going to be really important for them moving forward, because that's the end of their pool play, and important for them to be really cohesive as we move towards the medal rounds.
And as Tom mentioned again, that victory puts Canada in first in Pool B, and that'll confirm them playing at the 6:30 time slot on Friday here at the Arc. They will await their opponent as, again, Pool A action finishing up tomorrow. Mexico will take on Venezuela, both of which those two teams are 1-1 through the two matches so far. USA 2-0 will be taking on 0-2 Puerto Rico. And we'll see again the results of those two matches, who Canada will end up facing and who will qualify out of Pool A. And that'll set up a matchup tomorrow between the Dominican and Costa Rica to see who will take on the top seed in Pool A in that other semifinal.
Yeah, going to be important for the Dominican Republic. Regroup before tomorrow's match. Still want to try to come away with a win in their second game and see if they can get themselves primed for a good spot later into this tournament.
So victors today, Venezuela, the USA, and Canada closing out our last match of the evening. Thank you so much for joining us here, and you can join us back tomorrow as, again, the action starts at 2:30 Eastern Time with Mexico and Venezuela, then the USA and Puerto Rico, and finishing up with Costa Rica and the Dominican. And we will see you then. For Tom McCabe, I'm Kyle Campo. Canada wins 3-0.